Have you ever had that dream? You know, the one where you open your mouth to speak English in front of everyone and nothing comes out. Or worse, a weird jumbled squeak. For years, that wasn't just a dream for me. It was my very public, very awkward reality. I remember this one time at a student exchange welcome party, a super friendly girl from Canada asked me, "What's your favorite music?" My mind went completely blank. Total system crash. I think I mumbled something about all music good? And then practically ran to inspect the cheese platter with life or death intensity. Sound familiar? That burning desire to connect, to share, to just be yourself in English, but feeling trapped behind a wall of fear? Well, today I want to share how I, the former cheese platter inspector, learned how to speak English confidently every day. And trust me, if I can do it, you absolutely can too. My English learning journey started like many of yours, I bet. Textbooks, grammar rules, vocabulary lists longer than my arm. I knew English in theory. I could probably diagram a sentence with my eyes closed. But speaking? That was like asking a fish to ride a bicycle. My brain would fill with 1,000 perfect sentences, but my tongue felt like it was made of lead. The fear of making a mistake, of sounding silly, of people not understanding me, it was paralyzing. I'd see other people chatting away, laughing, making friends in English, and a voice in my head would whisper, "You'll never be like that." I'll genuinely believe that some people were just born confident speakers, and I wasn't one of them. Can you imagine how frustrating that felt day in and day out? I was missing out on so much, all because of this invisible barrier. It wasn't just about passing exams. It was about connecting with a whole world out there. That desire, that deep ache to connect became my why. It was the spark that said, okay, something has to change. There has to be a way to learn how to speak English confidently every day. The first big shift for me wasn't about learning more grammar, surprisingly. It was something far simpler, yet incredibly powerful. I call it the just start talking to yourself habit. Now hear me out. This might sound a bit silly at first. I felt ridiculous when I began. My first audience? My very unimpressed houseplant, Gerald. I'd tell Gerald about my day. "Hello, Gerald. Today was interesting. The bus was late. Again." Then I graduated to narrating my life like I was the star of my own documentary. She reaches for the coffee, a crucial step in her morning ritual. My cat was particularly subjected to lengthy monologues about the philosophical implications of chasing a laser dot. The key wasn't what I was saying, or even if it was grammatically perfect. It was the act of forming words, of making sounds, of getting my mouth and brain to work together without the pressure of an audience. It was like warming up an engine that had been cold for too long. And you know what? It started to feel less weird. Actually, it became kind of fun. It was my secret training ground. No judgment, no corrections, just me and the English language figuring things out. This was my first baby step towards real everyday confidence. What's the first tiny no pressure conversation you could have with yourself today? Then came the second revelation, and this one was a game changer for my mindset. It's what I call the embrace imperfection, celebrate small wins mindset. For so long, I was chasing this phantom of perfect English. I thought that until I could speak like a news anchor, I shouldn't speak at all. How wrong was I? The turning point was a trip abroad. I was desperately trying to ask for directions, my carefully constructed sentence crumbling into a mess of hesitations. A local vendor, with a huge smile, listened patiently, and then using very simple English and a lot of hand gestures, pointed me the right way. He didn't care about my tense agreement or my pronunciation of thoroughfare. He understood my need, and in that moment, it hit me. Communication is the goal, not perfection. It was like a huge weight lifted. Suddenly, every small, successful interaction became a victory. Ordering coffee and getting what I actually wanted. Win! Asking a question in a shop and understanding the answer. Huge win! I started focusing on these tiny triumphs instead of dwelling on every mistake. And here's a little secret, a surprising fact that blew my mind when I learned it. Even native English speakers make mistakes all the time. They use slang incorrectly. They stumble over words. Their grammar isn't always pristine. English is a living, breathing, wonderfully messy thing. Once I embraced that, the fear of judgment started to shrink. We as learners need to give ourselves that same grace. It's about progress, not perfection. Have you ever held yourself back waiting for that perfect moment or perfect sentence? What if you just tried? This leads directly to the third, and perhaps the most joyful piece of the puzzle, the find your fun, find your flow method. This is where the magic really happens, and it's at the heart of what we champion here at the Comprehensible English Hub. I realized that forcing myself to study dry topics I didn't care about was making English feel like a chore, so I asked myself, what do I love doing? At the time, I was obsessed with a particular online comic strip. Witty, funny, and all in English, I started reading it every day. At first, I didn't understand everything, but the pictures helped, and the story was so engaging that I wanted to understand or look up words, not because I had to, but because I needed to know what happened next to the characters. Then, I discovered a YouTuber who talked about my favorite video games in English. Suddenly, my study time became fun time. I was absorbing English naturally, without even thinking about it, because I was genuinely interested. This is Stephen Krashen's Comprehensible Input in Action. Learning language subconsciously by understanding messages, by engaging with content that is just a little bit beyond your current level, but made understandable by context, visuals, and genuine interest. It's like learning to swim by actually getting in the water and enjoying it, rather than just reading a book about swimming techniques. Can you imagine how this insight changed things for me? Instead of dreading English practice, I started looking forward to it. It wasn't about discipline anymore. It was about discovery. What do you love? Movies, music, games, cooking, space, exploration? Find it in English and let your passion pull your language skills along. Learning effectively through engaging stories. Krashen's method made simple and fun. That's the core. My breakthrough didn't happen overnight. It wasn't one single moment of fireworks. It was a slow burn, a gradual accumulation of these small shifts and daily practices. It was telling Gerald the plant about my promotion prospects. It was celebrating the fact I could navigate a foreign city using my imperfect English. It was losing myself for hours in an English novel because the story was just that good. I remember one day I was in a video call with a group of people from different countries. Someone asked a complex question, and before the old panic could even surface, I just answered. I explained my point, used a new phrase I picked up from a podcast, even made a small joke that landed. It was only afterwards that I realized, wow, I just spoke English confidently without overthinking it for several minutes, and people understood me. They even laughed at my joke. That feeling, it was incredible. It wasn't just about speaking English anymore. It was about feeling like me, but in another language. The transformation was profound. The world didn't seem so intimidating anymore. Opportunities opened up. Friendships deepened. My everyday life became richer, more vibrant. And the best part? I was finally having fun with English. So if you're standing where I once stood, staring at your own version of the cheese platter, feeling that knot in your stomach when you think about speaking English, I want you to know this. The journey to how to speak English confidently every day isn't about finding some magic pill or a secret grammar hack. It's about changing your approach, your mindset, and finding joy in the process. It's about starting small, even if it's just narrating your day to your bewildered pet. It's about embracing those beautiful imperfections that make us human and celebrating every tiny step forward. And most importantly, it's about finding your fun, your passion, and letting that be your guide. Here at the Comprehensible English Hub, we believe that learning English should be an adventure, not a chore. We believe in the power of stories to unlock your potential. Remember that girl at the student exchange asking about my favorite music? If I met her today, I wouldn't just mumble. I'd probably tell her about the amazing indie band I discovered through an English music blog and how their lyrics inspire me. That's the difference confidence makes. So, what's the first step you'll take today? Maybe it's finding an English comic you love. Maybe it's saying good morning to your reflection in English. Whatever it is, just start. Your confident English. Voice is in there waiting to be heard. Start your story. Start speaking. Start living your English adventure every single day. Thank you.